He was a soldier, a father, a man once trusted to protect. But in the final days of May 2025, Travis Decker vanished with his 3 young daughters and left behind a horror no one saw coming. What happened in those final hours? Why did a loving dad become a fugitive wanted for murder? And how has he managed to disappear without a trace? Travis Caleb Decker wasn't just a father, he was a U.S. Army infantryman, deployed to Afghanistan in 2014. He served his country with pride, but like so many combat veterans, he came home with wounds no one could see. After returning from duty, Decker was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, a condition that left him emotionally unstable, anxious, and prone to severe mood swings. Over time, he was also diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, a deeply complex illness often marked by emotional dysregulation, abandonment fears, and impulsive, sometimes dangerous behavior. His wife, Whitney Decker, says she saw the unraveling in slow motion. Whitney and Travis were once a young couple in love, trying to build a life together. But over time, emotional volatility, untreated trauma, and the crushing weight of financial instability began to pull them apart. Travis struggled to keep steady employment. He couldn't hold on to stable housing. He often slept in his pickup truck, moved between budget motels, and sometimes camped out in rural areas of Washington, isolated places where no one would ask questions. Whitney says he tried to get help, but was caught in a system that was underfunded, overwhelmed, and tragically slow to respond. He was broken, she told investigators, and the people who were supposed to help him didn't. Despite everything he was going through, Travis still had one anchor in his life: his daughters. They were his world, and to them, he was still dad. Paityn, the oldest, was 9. She was described as brave, thoughtful, and always looking out for her younger sisters. Evelyn, who was just 8, was the quiet one. Artistic, curious, and deeply observant. The kind of child who took in the world around her with wide, wondering eyes. And then there was Olivia, only 5 years old, full of energy, always smiling, the kind of child who made everyone else smile too. They loved hiking, making crafts, running around barefoot in the grass, and they especially loved weekends with their dad. Whitney knew Travis wasn't well, but she never believed he'd harm the girls. It was Friday, May 30th, 2025, the start of what should have been a routine weekend visit. Travis arrived at Whitney's home in Wenatchee Valley, Washington. He seemed calm. The two of them reportedly talked for 15, maybe 20 minutes, just a normal co-parenting exchange. No arguments, no tension, nothing alarming. According to Whitney's attorney, Travis even told her, "I'll see you at 8 p.m., a simple promise, a plan." Then he left, with Paityn, Evelyn, and Olivia in tow. But 8 p.m. came and went. Whitney waited. She called Travis, but no answer, just voicemail, again and again. By late that evening, she contacted police, not to report a crime, but to file a civil complaint. Travis had never done this before. Despite his instability, he'd always returned the girls on time. It was completely out of character. She told officers about his ongoing mental health struggles and expressed real concern. The next morning, concern turned to panic. Travis and the girls were supposed to attend a community 5K running event, something they'd planned for weeks. They never showed. That same day, the Wenatchee Police Department issued a public notice about the missing family. They stated that Travis Decker was homeless, likely living out of his car or bouncing between motels and campgrounds in the surrounding area. But even then, authorities said the case did not meet the criteria for an Amber Alert. Why? Because there was no immediate evidence of danger or abduction. Instead, the Washington State Patrol issued an Endangered Missing Person Alert, a lower-level alert that carries less urgency and doesn't instantly mobilize national resources. Whitney, meanwhile, was terrified. She knew something was wrong. She knew Travis had been unraveling, but she never imagined what he might be capable of. On June 2, 2025, a horrifying discovery was made near the Rock Island campground, just outside of Wenatchee. Travis Decker's white pickup truck was found abandoned near the site. But what investigators would find in the surrounding wooded area would haunt them forever. The bodies of Paityn, Evelyn, and Olivia were discovered nearby. All three sisters had been suffocated using plastic bags. Their hands were zip-tied, and their small bodies bore no signs of struggle, suggesting they may have been overpowered quickly. Decker's dog was also found at the campsite, alive, alone, and without food or water. According to forensic reports, the only DNA found on the bags and zip ties aside from the girls was Travis Decker's. There was no sign of another person, no indication of a stranger. Travis Decker was now the sole suspect in the murder of his three young daughters, and he had vanished. What happened next shocked the entire Wenatchee Valley. A father vanished. Three daughters were gone forever. But as investigations began, one question began to haunt them. Was this a moment of madness, or a plan he'd been building all along? During the investigation, detectives uncovered Travis's internet history. He'd searched how to move to Canada, Canada border crossing laws, how to disappear. Had escaping always been his plan? The FBI, U.S. Marshals, Chelan County deputies, and local law enforcement launched one of the largest manhunts Washington state has seen in years. Over 300 officers, K-9 units, drones, and helicopters scoured more than 250 acres of rugged wilderness surrounding the Rock Island campground. Search teams focused on remote trails, creek beds, and off-grid campgrounds, areas often frequented by people living off the grid, including those without permanent homes, like Travis. The crime scene raised questions, as the children's bodies were found relatively close to the Canadian border, and just 11 miles from the Pacific Crest Trail, a well-known backcountry route that leads directly into Canada. When paired with Travis Decker's chilling internet searches about moving to Canada and Canadian border law, the theory that he may have planned an escape across the border suddenly felt all too real. Investigators expanded their search northward, focusing on remote sections of the Pacific Crest Trail and backcountry routes known only to seasoned survivalists. Weeks after the manhunt began, search teams discovered bones in a remote area near the campground. For a moment, it seemed like the mystery might be coming to an end, but forensic testing recently confirmed the remains were not human. And just like that, what was once a red-hot trail may now be going cold. With no confirmed trace of Travis Decker, authorities face a baffling mystery. How could a man simply vanish into thin air? Travis Decker didn't just vanish, he disappeared into the kind of terrain he knows better than most. As a former Army infantryman, he is trained in advanced survival tactics. Friends and experts say he could live off-grid for weeks, even months, without any gear, navigating harsh terrain, finding food, and avoiding detection. Since the discovery of his daughter's bodies, not a single digital trace has been found. No phone pings, no bank activity, no social media, no confirmed sightings. It's as if he dropped off the face of the earth. Authorities fear he may have fled into the wilderness with a plan, or possibly with help. The sheriff leading the investigation has stated that it's possible that Decker is receiving aid from someone sympathetic to his situation. Several sightings have been called in, from Idaho to Oregon, including reports of a man matching Decker's appearance riding an ATV through the Sawtooth National Forest, and another near Kolchak Lake. All leads were thoroughly investigated. All were closed. None confirmed. Adding to the complexity, the FBI released altered images showing what Decker might look like now, with different hairstyles and facial hair, and yet no one has found him. 3 months on, the trail is growing quieter. Authorities say they still don't know if Travis Decker is dead, or very much alive. And if he is alive, he could be anywhere.
We are unsure if Mr. Decker is currently alive, but we are taking it that he is still out there. And again, we will not rest until we've located him, whether he's alive or he's dead. We want to make sure that he's brought back.
Travis Decker is now wanted on 6 counts, 3 of first-degree murder and 3 of first-degree kidnapping. In Washington state, first-degree murder carries a Class A felony designation. Under state law, a conviction for such an offense typically results in life imprisonment, and in many cases, without the possibility of parole, especially when multiple aggravating factors are present, like premeditation and the involvement of multiple child victims. Should Decker have crossed into Canada or another country, the extradition process could slow things down, sometimes significantly. While the U.S. has extradition treaties with Canada, the process involves formal legal channels, navigates privacy and human rights checks, and allows for appeals, sometimes stretching over months before final. But regardless of where he is found or how long it takes, justice is inexorable. Once caught, he will be brought to trial in the U.S., represented in court, given due process, and held answerable for the murder of his 3 daughters. If Travis Decker is eventually found deceased, the legal process would end, but the pain and questions would not. In the aftermath of the unimaginable, there are no answers. Only pain. Days after the discovery, a memorial was held in Wenatchee. Friends, family, and strangers gathered to honor the lives of Paityn, Evelyn, and Olivia. Candles were lit, photographs displayed, and at the center of it all stood their mother, Whitney Decker. She spoke with quiet strength, not about the tragedy, but about the joy her daughters brought into the world.
During their bedtime routine, I would ask them what 3 feelings they felt during that day. No feeling too big or too small, and what was going on when they felt those feelings. For Paityn, she always had more than 3. Consistently eager to tell me about every minute of her day. She was always interrupting her sisters to make sure I knew every single one. For us, we would talk about our feelings one-on-one. Right at that time, because she wasn't always ready to share them with her sisters. For Olivia, we were still working on how to describe all of her feelings. But to be honest, with that, one was always happy.
But beneath her steady voice was a grief no parent should ever know. Whitney doesn't want revenge. She wants answers. She wants to understand how the man she once trusted with her life and their children's lives could vanish into nothing after taking everything. This case is haunting, not just for what happened, but for what still isn't known. How long can someone like Travis Decker survive off the grid with no money, no phone, and no trace? And what happens to a mind already on edge when it finally breaks? Mental illness doesn't always explode. Sometimes it erodes, slowly, silently, until nothing's left. And it raises a question we can't ignore. If Travis Decker had gotten the help he needed, would this have ended differently? Do you think he planned this? Or did something snap? And the question that still chills us all, is he still out there? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe for updates and explore our channel for more true crime stories.